What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Big Dog Brett. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to share. Picked up a lot of new subscribers over the weekend, and man, I got to tell you, what a weekend of college football. Man, what a great weekend of college football. Uh, so many wild things going on. We're going to give everybody a few more minutes to go ahead and join the stream. And then from there, we're going to kind of break down what happened to the college football playoff. We're going to look at the potential implications of some of those, who's definitely out of the running, what happened to some of these bigger teams that were expected to win and did not. Um, there is a ton of stuff that happened in just the past 12 hours. So, excuse me, 24 hours. So it's going to be really interesting. So first off, let's just kind of run through the list here of the scoreboard over this past Thanksgiving weekend. Um, Ole Miss gets upset on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, 24-22. And then Florida State, I won't say escapes, but beats Florida. That was a good game. Went back and forth. Florida State walks away with the win in a long one-sided equation for Florida. Florida State comes home with the trophy. North Carolina loses to North Carolina State. And then you've got the UCLA topping Cal, Tulane over Cincinnati, which was kind of expected. Some people picked Cincinnati. I think Tulane's been a great team all year. They're 10-2. Great season for those guys. And then we had the Texas Baylor game. Game was never in doubt. Texas kind of just kept that, it kept the momentum going the whole game. They did kind of fall behind a little bit as far as the momentum and score goes in the second quarter, but after that, man, the game was all theirs. Excuse me. Woo, goodness. Let's see. Georgia Tech game, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Iowa State, LSU, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, USC, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, Clemson, Oregon State are all games we're going to talk about. So might throw in a few others here and there, but we're starting to get there. Good morning, Isaac Loudermilk. He says, "Morning, Brett. Hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving." We did indeed, sir. Anytime you can spend time with family is a great time, and we did that. We had a great time. So, I'm going to give the viewers an opportunity here to pick out who they want to talk about first. I'll let you guys pick between the Michigan game, Michigan Ohio State, the Clemson South Carolina, or the LSU Texas A&M. We'll let you guys pick which one you want to do first. So, Clemson South Carolina, Oregon State, or LSU Texas A&M. You guys pick, and then we'll go from there. Ooh, coffee a little hot. Ooh, that's hot. My coffee maker goes off in the morning, and it's automatically set. And then after it sits for a little while, coffee gets cold. I have to heat it up in the microwave, and I might have overheated this one. I always fogs up my glasses when I do that. There we go. There's 10 of you guys in here. Somebody pick something. Or is it just that far behind in the delay? I don't know why it does that. There's sometimes it's a super long delay. Super long. Let's see. And just so you guys know, we may be bringing a sponsor on board here soon. We're in current talks with a sponsor of the show. That might be interesting. That might be interesting. Why is it so dusty down here? Might be why I'm sneezing so much. Goodness. There we go. Much better. Michigan game. Okay, so Michigan, Ohio State. This seemed a lot closer. This was a lot closer. This game was really close. OSU just could not ever seemed to take control of this game. You can argue this was a fist fight, but not really. This was not a fist fight. This was Michigan being down 7 in the first quarter, and then that was it. After that, they really started to pick up steam and run away with it. They held Ohio State to 0 points in the third quarter, and then they held them to only 3 points in the fourth quarter. Going into the fourth quarter, this game was really close. It was like 24-20. I mean, it was close. And then at one point, you really thought Ohio State was going to come back, and then just a litany of errors, just one after another, mistake after mistake after mistake. They just couldn't get it back together. C.J. Stroud throws 2 interceptions and kills 2 drives. Ohio State was running the ball all over the place, up and down the field. They averaged, the receiving. They averaged over 11 yards. What's going on, Nate? They averaged over 11 yards per pass, and that's pretty strong. Except that Michigan was averaging 21.5. Cornelius Johnson balled out at 160 yards, but Emeka Egbuka had 125 yards, and Marvin Harrison had 120 yards. And it still wasn't enough. It still was not enough. The rushing in this game was the big difference. Michigan ran this ball right down Ohio State's throat, averaged 7.2 yards a rush. There is no way you're going to be competent with stopping an offense if you can't stop 7.2 yards a rush. If you look at the points, you're like, if you look at the stats, C.J. Stroud throws 31 for 48, throws for 350 yards. They averaged 5 yards a carry on rush, and they lost this game by 22 points. You'd be like, what in the world happened? It was making big mistakes at bad times. Ohio State was in this game right up until the end, and then it just completely got away from Ohio State. There was absolutely no way Ohio State was going to win that game in the fourth quarter with the way they were playing. William Rivera says, what game are you watching, Big Dog? Didn't nobody think they were going to come back? They were already leaving the stadium. Up until the end of the fourth quarter, I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes left to go. That game is still pretty close. So if they were leaving the stadium, that's on them. But 7.2 is inflated because of those huge runs they did. Maybe so, but you still have to take them into account. I mean, it's part of the game. So, what are you going to do? Michigan advances to 12-0. I'm curious as to how the College Football Playoff Committee is going to look at Ohio State now with just the one loss to what you could argue would be the number 2 team in the country. And don't at me with the whole they should jump Georgia. No, they're not going to jump Georgia. Georgia's number 1. They went out, dominated their opponent. They didn't lose, and they beat the number 1 ranked team in the country. So that's on their resume at one point. You can argue that the ratings have changed. I can go ahead and tell you that the ranking for Ohio State will change after the loss to Michigan. So, no, they're not going to jump Georgia. And Georgia's defense is absolutely incredible, phenomenal, and that's going to be taken into consideration. Georgia Tech comes out, gets one score on the first drive, and then they get one touchdown in trash time, and that's it. The rest of the game, they were absolutely at a standstill. Let's see. All right, now that that's out of the way, TCU destroyed Iowa State. All right, you guys want to talk about TCU? Let's talk about TCU. So the TCU game, the Hound Frogs, they took no pity whatsoever on Iowa State. They said, we don't care that you supposedly have a good defense. We are here to destroy you. Now you would look at the score and you would think that TCU would have 500 yards of offense. They don't. They don't even have 400 yards of offense. They don't. Field position was a big thing in this game. They just could not get TCU could not get out of their own side of the field, and TCU just lived over there. Um, you might be surprised if I told you that not only did TCU have 62 points, they also punted 3 times in this game. You would think that they would have had to have scored on every possession, but they had 2 field goals and 3 punts. They scored 24 points in the first quarter. They walked out of that first quarter like, yep, that's what's up. They went into the half 34-7. In the third quarter, it was, what was it like? 40, 50. It was like 55-7 or something. And then essentially Iowa gets a trash touchdown late in the fourth quarter, and TCU, picks up one. I mean, it was just, this was an embarrassment. TCU defense came out to play. Offense was just absolutely. Max Dugan was dropping dimes on people, and then Chad Morris comes in and goes 5 for 6. I mean, they weren't missing. They weren't missing. Kind of hoping TCU and USC win these championships. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Me too. I think OSU can get in if USC loses to Utah or TCU loses to KSU. That is certainly a possibility at this point, but let's look at the rankings real quick. Let me see if I can find that. All right, so the new rankings haven't come out. They come out tomorrow. We get it. Georgia's going to be 12-0. Michigan's going to be 12-0. TCU's going to be 12-0, and that's the only 3 teams in college football that's undefeated. And then you'll have Ohio State at 1 loss. LSU loses to a terrible Texas A&M team. That they should be knocked out of the top 25, in my opinion. They got 3 losses. Get out of here. USC advances to 11-1. I'm curious if because USC is ranked number 6, right? I don't think that Ohio State should be ranked below USC. So in my opinion, it should probably go Georgia, Michigan, TCU, Ohio State. I know some people's gonna be upset about that, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I don't really see any other way, man. No, I'm not saying that there's not an argument to be made. I'm just saying that if you look at the teams that played, you'd have to say, like, okay, for instance, let's say that Georgia went out and they won the game over an unranked Georgia Tech. So let's say the score was 28-24, right? I would say, okay, Georgia played terrible. Michigan played great. I can see that happening. If Michigan would have come out and the score going into the fourth quarter would have been 45-20, I'd have said, okay. But that's not what happened. What happened was going into the fourth quarter, this game was a 4-point difference. And it was a couple of mistakes made by Ohio State that Michigan took advantage of, absolutely, that ran the score up in the fourth quarter. Ohio State was playing out of desperation, and it ran the score up. Don't get me wrong. Michigan's a great football team, but all of that's going to be taken into assessment. I'm not telling you that you couldn't make an argument. I'm just telling you that I don't think the College Football Playoff Committee is going to leapfrog Michigan over Georgia. What's up, DSA? Ohio State lost by 22 to USC, only lost by 1 interception. Lost by 1, and it's to and in it to Utah. I like these. These kind of statements make sense because it's like if you're in a foot race and you pass the guy in 5th place, what place are you in? The answer is 5th place. If you're running a race and you're in 3rd place and you pass the guy in 2nd place, you're now in 2nd place. You didn't pass 1st place because you beat 2nd place. I like those kind of comments. So I think Georgia, Michigan, TCU, Ohio State. Then you got LSU here. Let's go ahead and talk about this embarrassment. Oh my God. Jimbo Fisher trying to save some kind of face. Jimbo Fisher trying all he can to make his team look make his team look like they're not 5-7 and not going bowling. This was their big game of the year. They went 2-6 in conference. Had to beat LSU to do it. Texas A&M threw the ball 18 times. 18 times. This was been telling you guys all year LSU's not that good. Been telling you guys all year LSU's not that good. The Florida State loss doesn't look as bad because Florida ended up being pretty good. The Tennessee loss doesn't look as bad because Tennessee's pretty good. But explain the 13-10 win over Arkansas, and explain the 38-23 drubbing by Texas A&M. Oh, they were looking ahead to Georgia over A&M. Come on, man. You could have went out there and sleptwalk in the first half, which they did. It was only 10-17 at the end of the first half, and then turned it on in the second half and still could have won this game. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. They absolutely imploded, disintegrated, fumbled the ball twice. Can't fumble the ball, man. Didn't throw any interceptions, but you got to put up more than 390 yards worth of offense on most teams. You ready for this? Are you ready for this? You're not ready for this. You're not ready for this. How about LSU had only about 40 less yards than Texas A&M? They only had one more first down than Texas A&M, and they only had the ball. Texas A&M only had the ball 3 more minutes. Absolutely embarrassing. Georgia is going to go out there and just work them over. It's not going to be close. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be bad. See, now Joe says UGA, Michigan, TCU, USC. I can see that argument too. William says, why all of a sudden are you OSU happy? You should be Michigan slappy. Be a Michigan slappy. I'm not for either team. I don't think either team is on Georgia's level. I don't. Do I think Michigan could be the looked at as the number 1 team in the country? Yes, I can see how people could make that argument. 100% see how you can make that argument. But on the field, who do I think would win? Now, imagine this for a second. I'm going to be objective. Yes, I'm a Georgia fan. I get it. That's the first thing people are going to say. Dude, you're a Georgia fan. You're biased. I can understand people saying that. Michigan's had a great defense all year. They've had one good team that they have played. One good team. Now, you can say Penn State's a good team. Okay. And then they played Ohio State, and they played well. Now, understandable. But let's do this. Let's look at Georgia's schedule. Georgia 12-0, just like Michigan. But Georgia's also only lost one game in the past 2 years, and it was to Alabama, and we beat them again that same year. Georgia beat Oregon. Georgia beat Tennessee. I would argue that those are as good or better wins than the Penn State, Michigan. Georgia, where's that? Was Georgia averaging like 11 points a game or something like that? If you think you're going to roll in there and throw 45 on Georgia, good luck. It's not going to happen. People get mad when I tell them that every year. Played Michigan State last time, or played Michigan last time. What happened? I'm trying to understand you better, my man. Bro, they better not even be in the top 25. Who? Yeah, I did say OSU should be 4th. Well, and here's why. Does anybody doubt that OSU is a great football team? Probably not. USC has a loss in this game, and their loss is to a 20th ranked Utah. They have a loss to a 20. Who has a better loss? Utah. The Trojan loss to Utah by 1 point on the road, or a last few minutes loss to the number 1 or possibly number 2 Michigan in the country. It's a better loss. I hate to say that, but it's a better loss. Yeah, just be glad Georgia plays 4 quarters, right? He didn't play very well in the first quarter against Georgia Tech. Good Lord. So when I look at these teams, I look at a lot more factors. Who's got a better loss? Who played better? Who has better over? Who does, less with more? All this fun stuff. All this fun stuff. So it's not just this, that, and the other. Let's look at the teams that Michigan has played. Let's look at the teams Michigan has played. Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn, Maryland, Indiana, Michigan State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Illinois. And now you got to play Purdue? Come on, man. Purdue's not even ranked. They're not even ranked. If Michigan plays Purdue and they beat them 70-0, LSU's not falling out of the top 25. They'll probably fall to 15th or something. They'll take a big tumble, but they'll still be in the top 25, if not the top 15, right? Georgia goes out there and mollywops LSU, and you're going to see a Georgia with a ranked win in a championship game versus a Michigan win against an unranked opponent in a championship game. Who do you think they're going to look at? Georgia? Penn State's not good. Do you think LSU should be ranked number 6? No. LSU should not be ranked number 5. We all saw it, and we all know why. Penn State ranked at 11 with a loss to you guys and a loss to Michigan. Yeah. But I don't think they're that good of a football team. You can get mad about it if you want to, but they're an okay football team. I think they're above average, but great. They're not a great football team, no. I mean, look at who they're playing. Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Minnesota, Central Michigan, Ohio, Purdue. No, those are not great teams, sir. I'm sorry. Last year don't count. Last year always counts, sir. Look at your trophy case. Tell me if last year counts. LSU 20th, 25th. Nah, they'll take a big tumble, but they're not going to knock them out of the top 25. Not from 5. If they were ranked, 12th or something, they might knock them out. But no. Big Ten is just bad both sides, Michigan, OSU, and Penn State. All right, let's do this then, just for the fun of it. So let's look at your schedule from last year. Okay. You guys did the same exact thing you did last year, right? Score this year was, what was it, 45-27 over Ohio State? Yep, you beat them 42-27 last year. You took an inexplicable loss to a bad Michigan State team. They were ranked 8th at the time, 37-33. Your defense played well last year. 14 points, 10 points, 10 points, 13 points, 17 points, 29 points, 7 points, 7 points, 17, 18. Ohio State got 27, and then Iowa got 3. And then you guys ran into Georgia, and it went 34-11. It was a drubbing. It was a body bag. It was here, next man up. Sorry you got your tail kicked. Georgia has not changed, and neither has Michigan. They have not changed. These are the same teams. These are the same coaches. These are almost a completely identical run of Georgia 12-0. Michigan was 12-0 last, 11-1 last year, and they're going to be 12-0 this year. Big Ten, Penn State and Ohio State will destroy both of those teams. Do you mean Penn State will destroy LSU? Here we go with Georgia got a slight edge. Georgia got a slight edge. You're right. Slight edge. I have no doubt. I have no doubt that Ohio State would destroy LSU. I would make an argument that it might be a closer game than you realize between Penn State and LSU, but I think Penn State would still win, probably by 7 points. But I don't think it'd be a blowout. I think Ohio State would blow them out, but I don't think Penn State would. I don't. You know, looking at the top teams right now, you've only got what, a handful of teams that even have 10 wins this year. Tennessee's got 10 wins. You know, they got 10 wins and 2 losses. You got Oregon, who lost inexplicably. Don't know how that happened. Power rankings are already out, apparently. I don't know how I missed that. Hey, look, Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2, TCU number 3, USC Trojans number 4, Alabama number 5. We're still trying to squeak their way in, ain't they? Hopefully, yes. If you're watching Georgia games, it's usually that way, sir. I'm looking at USC schedule. All right, let's look at USC schedule, right? They're playing in the Pac-12. Guys, I got to tell you, Rice, Stanford, Fresno State. That Oregon State game does look better now, but it was a 17-14 game. Chong. Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado, all terrible teams. And USC might still lose to Utah. They beat Notre Dame by what, 11? UCLA by 3. Arizona by a touchdown. Utah already beat them one time. I know it's hard to beat a team twice in a season, but it happened last year. Oregon State, they beat Oregon State by 3 points. Guys, they're living a little too dangerously here. Utah's a physical football team, man. They are physical. They lost to Florida in a season opener. Most of their wins have been pretty lopsided. Their losses have been close. 10 points to UCLA, 3 points to Florida, 3 points to Oregon. That sounds like just bad coaching. Doesn't sound like bad talent. You don't want Bama? Cadillac. Man, ain't you supposed to be coaching Auburn over there? Tennessee at 10 wins for the first time since 07. Could be 11-2 after a bowl game win. Still proud of the Vols. You should be, man. That's a good season for them. Yeah. But, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, I mean, all right, so we've talked about all the other teams for a minute. Let's talk about Georgia real quick. All right, so here's Georgia sitting on another, we could argue, almost generational defense. I think Georgia's averaging, what, 11.2 points a game or something like that. Let me see here. So if we do stats, team stats. Georgia's averaging 38 points a game. Let's see. Georgia's third down percentage conversion rate is 51%. Ooh, I didn't know this stat. Georgia's fourth down conversion rate is 84.5%. It's pretty awesome. Georgia averaging 5.5 yards a carry. Georgia's averaging 488.8 yards a game. Georgia's giving up 47 yards per game in penalties, which is pretty, I wouldn't say low. I'd say about average, I guess. Pretty low. But turnover rate's been terrible at Georgia. It seems to have improved a little bit over the season, but it's still pretty bad. Let me see if I can pull up the numbers here real quick. Sorry, I can't read the chat. So I think it was 11.1 times 11. Let's just say 123. We'll say 123 points plus 14 there, divided by 12. Georgia's allowing an average of about 11.4 yards a game. I mean, points per game. Yeah, we had some problems with the goal line a few times there. Simeon, you're right about that. Well, you gotta love a guy. This guy's diehard Michigan fan. I love it. You're right about the championship game and where they're ranked, absolutely, but that's because we followed the stupid SEC model and went to divisions, or it's not the two best teams playing. There's some legitimacy to that. What's up, Joey Foster? Whew, it's you got Georgia. You know what? We didn't talk about the Clemson game. We did not talk about the Clemson game. I apologize to all of those out there that wanted to hear about the Clemson game. Oh my goodness. Clemson jumps out to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter. At the first part of the game, the win probability was like 96% Clemson. And then it stayed in the 80s and 90s up until late in the third quarter. And then, man, you just want to talk about a coin just flipped over. Bloop. It got bad all of a sudden. In the third quarter, early in the third quarter, South Carolina gets a touchdown, makes it 21-23. Then Shipley gets a touchdown, makes it 21-30. Then Antoine Wells gets a touchdown, makes it 28-30. And then in the fourth quarter, ready for this? In the fourth quarter, with 11 minutes to go, South Carolina kicks a field goal. And then they stonewall Clemson. Clemson couldn't even get close enough to kick a dad-blasted field goal. South Carolina had 414 yards. Clemson only had a little over 300. South Carolina dominated the clock with 33 minutes of possession. But Clemson had more first downs. More first downs. If you look at the box score on this game, it's weird. DJ threw for 8 out of 29. 8 out of 29. Averaged 3.9 yards. Excuse me, 3.4 yards. His QBR was 27.5. Dabo Swinney, what are you doing? You had the worst performance of a lifetime out of this quarterback, and you didn't pull it. At least I don't see where you pulled him. I would have pulled him. You got South Carolina fans over here storming the field at you guys' plays. Meet me at the Paw Paw. You got Spencer Rattler out here throwing for 360 yards on y'all. And here's the crazy thing. All South Carolina did was throw the ball. That's all they did was throw the ball. That's it. That's it. Carolina rushed for 54 yards. 54 yards. See, he knows what it is. He knows we just trash talking, man. It's all good. What's going on, Shelly Max? Shelly Max says, hey, hit the thumbs up, guys. We appreciate y'all. What's up, Alex MLD? What? Stop playing. Let me do that right now. That's not what I have. I have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. This is from last week, apparently. You must be on one of those. You must be on one of those Alabama sites. Hey, Alex, did you send me an email? Send me an email, dude. What's up, 225 girl? I don't know why. Dabo wanted to lose that game. That's the only thing I can figure, because literally anybody could have done what DJ was doing or done better. Absolutely an embarrassment. I have no idea. There's no way I'd have left him in. And to tell you guys how bad it is, there hasn't been. I know a lot of fans are critical of Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett's never had a game where he threw 8 for 29. Never. Because at a certain point, we would have just stopped throwing the ball. We just run it. That's all we've done. Targets. What an embarrassment. And they fumbled it twice. Lost it twice. South Carolina fumbled it twice, recovered it twice. They sacked DJ only one time. Clemson sacked Spencer Rattler 3 times. South Carolina gets 1 interception. Clemson gets 2. I mean, this was bad. Beamer ball, they're going to be talking about Beamer ball in South Carolina in the 2022 season for forever. Absolutely dashed, crushed, and destroyed Clemson's hopes of a playoff run. That is over now. Even with a college, and even with a championship win here, it would still be immensely hard to put Clemson over an Ohio one-loss Ohio State team. It really would. Ohio State's going to sit home, watch Michigan beat the hell out of Purdue, and they can, in my opinion, they can still probably get in. Now, if USC wins out, USC's probably going to get in, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Rather have to play OSU over Bama? Probably. Joey Foster says, I would just like to take a minute to thank Beamer Ball for yesterday. I doubled my money for the year of betting. Man, if you are betting, been playing DMZ, but send it to me. Just send me both. Send me your or if you're playing on PlayStation, send it to me on your send me your PlayStation ID or your Activision ID. Send me both. Because I tried to find you the other night, I couldn't find you. Who in the top 10 could actually give Georgia a game? Well, we know that, we can go ahead and the current top 10 as it says from last week, because the new one hasn't come out yet, I guess. We know Tennessee's out. We know Oregon's out because we beat both of them. Clemson, not worried about them. Maybe Alabama, maybe USC, not LSU. I don't know about TCU. I don't think they'd give us that much of a game. I think Michigan might, but I don't think Ohio State. So probably Michigan's the only one. Bengals Einhorn. Yeah, well, I think that when Brent Venables left that program, it was like Kirby Smart leaving Alabama. Not Ohio fans saying we need to bring in more recruits. Ryan Day doing less with more. What's up? Was that Gargoyles or Gregazel? I'm not sure how you say your name, sir, but thank you for being here. Listen, Michigan's got a solid football team this year in comparison. I mean, you can't say they're a terrible football team. They just beat the number 2 team and the number 3 team in the nation, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. They just beat them. Okay, they're undefeated. So clearly they're not a bad football team. They're not. And anybody can win on any given Saturday. Cue up South Carolina versus Clemson. There's no doubt. So when I'm looking at everything that happened this past weekend, Mississippi State beats Ole Miss. North Carolina State beats North Carolina. Let's see, who else was an underdog in one? Oh yeah, Michigan was an underdog in one. Texas A&M was an underdog in one. South Carolina underdog in one. Oregon State underdog in one. I mean, anybody can win on any given Saturday. I do think that Utah's not getting enough credit for what they've done this season, though. I think they deserve to be ranked way above 14th. I think Utah probably deserves to be ranked. Maybe, I know they got 3 losses. Get out of here with that. But I still think that they probably deserve to be ranked closer to 10. I mean, the 3 losses are to Florida, which is terrible, but it's the season opener. I give a little bit of leniency for season opener, kind of leaning away from that. So Florida, season opener, Lost to UCLA, but UCLA is a little bit better than what we thought they were. So I mean, they're 18 at the time. What are they now? 18 now. They're not a bad football team, but lots of craziness over the weekend. Kentucky beats Louisville, but nobody cares. UCF beats South Florida, nobody cares. Washington beats Washington State. Washington should probably be ranked probably 7th or 8th in my opinion. Kansas State versus Kansas blows them out. Nobody cares. Penn State beats Michigan State. Nobody cares. What I do want to talk about is the Oregon State game. So in the Oregon State game, after the game, I don't know if you guys know this, but one of their players punched a punched a Oregon State fan right in the back of the head. I'm like, well, I understand being emotional, but you can't do that, man. You cannot do that. Gotta love college football. Caleb Williams, Heisman favorite. He's definitely in the hunt. But this guy right here, Bijan Robinson, listen, if you don't know who Bijan Robinson is, you are not watching college football. Listen, Bijan Robinson, and one of the guys screwed up, one of the announcers screwed up his name and should have to issue a public apology. They called him Dijon. His name's not Dijon, it's Bijan. Bijan. This guy is a beast, man. This guy is an absolute animal. He's at 1,580 rushing yards this season, averaging 6.1, has 18 touchdowns. My Lord. He's got 19 receptions for an additional 314 yards and 2 touchdowns there. This guy accounts for 20 touchdowns on the Texas offense. I don't know what else you got to do. I mean, think about that. Like Georgia, which has been has had rushers on their teams many years in a row, go to the NFL, become first-round draft picks, rushing over 1,000 yards. This guy's at 1,500. You understand how insane that is? 1,500 rushing yards. I would wager to say that there's quarterbacks that don't have 1,500 passing yards. Granted, they probably play for a scrub team, but still. Rexy J says, I'm an LSU fan and I'm expecting a 20-plus point loss in Atlanta. Ooh, it might be that way. If Bama gets in, what if Bama gets in and wins it all? Then it's rigged. It's completely rigged. It's rigged if they get in. It's just rigged if they get in. If they win, the people should be brought up on racketeering charges. Something's way off. Way off. Way off. I feel like every Pac team has a. Well, I mean, this was the story for the. It wasn't just the Pac-12. It was the Big 12 as well. Was this way for years. Great offense, terrible defense. Back whenever Chip Kelly invented the hurry-up offense, pretty much out of Oregon. That's when the offenses kind of went to this air raid thing and started getting crazy out of hand. And then so the NCAA come out with this rule that if the offense subs, the defense gets a chance to sub as well. So that's why. Yes, we finally get it done in Atlanta. Do me a favor though. I want you to tell me where Oregon and Georgia played at the beginning of the season. Does anybody know where Georgia and Oregon played at the beginning of the season? Oh, that's right. It was in Atlanta. Forgot about that. So yes, I think they get it done in Atlanta Cadillac. I'm giving you a little bit of sand, my man. Pac is better than usual this year, but still I don't think they are caught up with each other with the other conferences. I figure USC gets in if they lose first round, no matter what the opponent. Maybe. I love this. Not only is this a great comeback, the fact that he typed it the way he did is funny to me. Touche. This is the that is the correct spelling without the, I don't know how to do the accented E, but yeah, just for future reference, if you want to know how to spell touche, it is as such. Uh, so the this was a very, we've had some very exciting weekends of college football. I have enjoyed college football quite a bit this year. I felt like last year some of the games I was, it was kind of a sleepwalk, um, which is good. And I will take sleepwalking games. So this year, the Kent State game was kind of a head scratcher. It was 39-22. Georgia turned the ball over 3 times in that game, and I mean, still walked away with a big win there. And Kent State's not a good football team, so it's kind of like what happened there. And this is the other one I want to talk about. So everybody's like, "Oh, it's 26-22 versus Missouri." You're right. It was 26-22 versus Missouri. Missouri is a terrible football team. What happened in this game? Same thing. Georgia sleptwalked through this game. More turnover problems. Georgia was down at the half, 6-16, and then holds Missouri to 2 field goals and wins the game 26-22. To me, that was our closest game all season. I don't really feel like the Kentucky game ever got away from us because Kentucky could not move the ball. Kentucky couldn't do anything against Georgia. I mean, Kentucky's not a good football team. They had a grand total of like 290 yards offense total. Georgia had 250 yards passing and then 116 yards in rushing. So, I mean, we had a little over 350. But if you can't break 300 yards against Georgia, you're going to struggle. And if you can't run the ball against Georgia, you're going to struggle. And nobody's been able to run the ball all season against Georgia. So whenever I look at a Michigan team, appreciate it, Joey. Thanks for being here, buddy. Johnny Bolton has the right idea. All right, thanks, Alex. I'll do that. What's up, T Young? Yeah, the last couple of weeks have been a lot of fun. So let me get rid of some of these open tabs here. I don't need that open. What is this? This one might be beneficial. Oh, big middle finger salute to Fox or whoever it was that decided to schedule, not just Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, A&M, LMNOP, HBO, Cinemax, don't care. If you are any of these programs and you scheduled the Ohio State game, the Georgia game, what was the other game? It was a Clemson game. All these on at the same time. What are you doing? My goodness. You got people trying to flip back and forth to 4 or 5 TVs trying to figure out what the hell they want to watch. And it's like, man, come on. You got a good point there, sir. I don't remember either. I have no idea. So let me pull up this. So if we look at the Michigan game versus Ohio State, let's go to box score. So Michigan rushed for 252 yards. I can't name the last team that did that against Georgia. Cannot name the last team that did that against Georgia. Now, you might pass on Georgia a little bit, but you certainly are not going to run the ball against Georgia like that. We go to, I want to look at NCAA stats. Let's look at total offense as of today. Tennessee at number 1. Southern Cal number 2. Oregon number 3. UCLA number 4. Washington number 5. Georgia number 6. Above Ohio State at number 7. And then how far down? And then Michigan's at number 23. Okay. So right there, we're going to say Georgia might have a better offense. Let's look at fewest penalties. Michigan coming in. Michigan and Georgia coming in really close, 45 and 48 total, which is 11 a game. So that's a wash. Let's look at third down conversion percentage. Georgia at number 5. Michigan at number 18. Third down conversion defense, Georgia number 3, Michigan at 14. Let's see what else we got. First down defense. Hey, Michigan's number 2. Outstanding. Georgia's number 7. Let's see. Opponents' first downs, Michigan has given up 147. Georgia's given up 161. So not bad. I mean, that's a difference of about 2 a game. I wonder if that has to do with the type of offenses we have played. Let's check that. So it's first down defense. Let's check first down offense. Let's see. Georgia is actually at 20th, and Michigan's at 25. Slight edge. Let's look at saving kind of the scoring defense. Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2. Points 122, Michigan 129. That's scoring defense. Scoring offense. Georgia, Michigan's number 9. Georgia is number 11. Touchdowns for Michigan, 51. Touchdowns for Georgia, 51 as well. Wash. Now let's look at total defense. Is that on here? Where's that at? Oh, yeah, total defense. Here we go. Michigan, number 1. Georgia, number 4. Plays 648 to 659. Yards, 2,654 to Georgia's 2,993. Yards per play, 4.1 to 4.5. Opponents' touchdowns, 13 for Michigan, but 10 for Georgia. Yards per game, 241 for Michigan, 272 for Georgia. Red zone defense. Georgia, number 1. Michigan, number 34. Oof. Let's look up red zone offense. Georgia, number 1. Michigan, number 8. Georgia's lethal in the red zone. Let's see, scoring. Georgia allowing 11.9 a game, Michigan allowing 11.7. So pretty close there. Interesting stuff. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt that it's at a stat line. Yeah, but when you look at the teams you've played, who plays in the SEC, I keep telling y'all, you keep saying, but year after year, when Georgia or anybody else plays another team, man, that those teams usually lose, like in a big way. I got to adjust. I'm getting old. Yeah. It's not just wins. It's the caliber of the opponents. It's number of recruits. There's way more 5-star, 4-star, and 3-star recruits that go to the SEC overall than go to the Big Ten. I can't wait to see LSU get run out of Atlanta either. I mean, it's certainly going to be interesting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not afraid of Michigan. I'm not saying they have a bad team or a great team or any of that stuff. What I'm saying is that based on the way Georgia plays, I mean, Michigan stat-wise was pretty close to Georgia last year, and the offense is still running the same offense. So Kirby Smart and company is going to go. Kirby Smart is they're going to do the same thing. I mean, there's plenty of tech on both of them. It's just going to be hard to see who can do what. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and running over to about an hour here. I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to do like, subscribe, and share. And if you're a Michigan fan, please stick around. It's more likely than not we're going to end up playing each other. Clearly, the two best teams in the country. We'll see what happens. what I predict, I did it last year and I nailed it. I'm gonna do it again this year. What I predict is if things continue down the road they're on now, you will see Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU number 3, and Ohio State at 4, because that sets up a lot of things. That sets up the possibility that a Big 12 is going to play a Big 10, Big 10 is going to play SEC, and that there could end up being a rematch between the Georgia-Michigan game, because there's some precedents there from last year, that revenge factor that'll draw viewers. So I think that's how it's going to go. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys being here, especially my new subscribers. I'm excited to see you guys here. I'm also very grateful for all of my loyal followers that have been here for a long time. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. We're going to do a lot more college football content coming up this weekend. Championship weekend coming up. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.